What is the worst, scariest thing that has woken you up? Back when I lived alone in a studio apartment, I used to wake to just about anything. Never woke up more terrified than the night when I woke up to the sound of my toilet flushing. To this day I can only assume that a ghost just couldn't hold it anymore. First was a phone call at 5 a.m. to let us know that 2 family members were killed by a drunk driver. Second was the smoke alarm as the entire basement was burning and the fire was almost at the top of the steps. We all barely made it out. The general alarm shrieking through the 1 megacoulomb speaker right outside of my rack when I was on a submarine. Someone's clothes had caught fire in the dryer, the only one on the boat. I was deep asleep and woke up confused as hell, scared witless and choking on smoke. Just seeing the word fire and submarine in the same sentence gives me the heebie-jeebies. My girlfriend's mother telling me there were 2 police officers and my mother at the front door. It was 4 a.m. and I was sleeping at the girlfriend's house. They had come to inform me my dad had died. That was around 14 years ago. I'm afraid to say that I don't think this sort of wake-up won't happen again. Apartment on fire. Actually, this week is the 5th anniversary. When I lived in an apartment complex, the fire alarms went off a few times, and even though it was always for some stupid reason such as smoking in the lobbies or whatever, I always grabbed the pets and waited outside for however long it took. So many people just stayed in though, cause they didn't take them seriously. I kinda don't want to be trapped in a burning high-rise, so I'll take my chances and waste the time waiting, haha. We used to have this weird old Labrador that lived next door but would come sleep at ours some nights. It was weird because it would stand on its hind legs and trot around for a bit before getting on all fours again. One night I woke to what sounded like someone walking around the room. For about 5 seconds I completely shit myself thinking there was a child walking around my room before I realized it was that dog. I think it did it for food. Actually just happened last week. Woke up to my dog growling and someone was shining a light into my window at 2 a.m. I was super out of it and trying to process what was going on since the light was coming from someone in my fenced-in backyard. Then my dog barked loud and the person ran away. Anyone here have one of those robotic vacuums? When the power goes out, those fuckers start wandering around lost, bumping into shit. Absolutely terrifying thing to be woken up by 3 in the morning. In grad school, my roommate standing directly over me, staring down at me. She couldn't decide if she should wake me up or not. She kept hearing this deep voice mumbling at inconsistent intervals and was torn between "there's someone in the house" and "I'm finally actually losing my mind." She was studying psych at the time. We finally figured out that it was the smoke detector wanting new batteries, but good lord, it was terrifying. You, McLusquid, remember this? My buddy and I were camping and saw a bear, so we decided to sleep in his car. I was still worried about the bear, so it took forever to fall asleep. Well, right after I fell asleep, I woke up to screams and something grabbing my face. I immediately started crying, knowing that bear was about to rip my face off. Then I realized it was my friend having a night terror. I was livid. Sounds like you're the one who got the night terror. My 2-year-old standing over me with a kitchen knife. He wanted sliced apples at 4 o'clock in the morning and somehow managed to climb up on table and pull out a knife. Now we keep them in the cupboard. Dang, kids are terrifying. Most of these stories are about super creepy children waking up their parents. One important preface. At the time I lived alone, no roommates. One time I was taking a nap in my bedroom, happened to have a really horrible nightmare, and then woke up to some strange man standing in my bedroom shining a flashlight in my face while I laid in bed. Both of us freaked the fuck out. It turned out he was the maintenance guy for the apartment complex I lived in, finally responding to a maintenance request I had put in like 6 months before. He thought the apartment was empty, then heard me thrashing around from the nightmare and went and looked into the dark bedroom blackout curtains with his flashlight to see what was making the noise. After both of us recovered from our near heart attacks, he was extremely apologetic, and he did finally fix my garbage disposal, but Jesus Christ, that was terrifying for a few seconds. I've woken up several times to the sound of tornado sirens going off in the middle of the day. They test them on the first Wednesday of every month, but when they wake you up your first thought isn't what day it is. Same here, they constantly test those damn sirens at random times without any warning. A few years back I hear a thud in the hallway and my 4-year-old daughter screaming in pain. She had fallen and gotten a small but deep cut just above her left eyebrow. When I got out to the hallway, her face, hands and pajamas were covered in blood and she was holding her hands against her face. I thought she lost her eye. A quick trip to the ER for a couple of stitches and she was right as rain, but I gained almost all of my grey hair that night. While studying abroad in undergrad, I was staying the night in a hostel in Barcelona. The room I was in was fairly small, probably about 6 bunks. Was sleeping soundly when I suddenly woke up choking, covered in some unknown powder and hearing a loud whooshing sound. Turns out an extremely drunk Australian decided to spray a fire extinguisher in the room. A spider landing on my face. In retrospect, the little guy was probably as terrified as I was. Think it had accidentally fallen somehow, but goddamn it was scary. Edit, well hot damn, this blew up. TLDR for the replies, spiders do this shit a lot. The sound of something breaking over the baby monitor and my son crying out. He'd managed to ninja his way out of his bed, had no idea until that day he could get over the railing out of his room into the bathroom and found a vase under the sink. Dropped it, which shattered it and sliced open his leg pretty good. Required casting and surgical repair. He's good now over a decade later. Limps sometimes when he gets overly tired, but otherwise no permanent damage. One time I woke up to my hamster running in his wheel, normal right? Well, the wheel was on the floor and his cage was on a shelf, which means that he had in some way gotten out of his cage and jumped from about a meter up and he became blind in one eye. Nothing else really happened. I was just pretty scared for the rest of his life that he could escape from his cage at any time. By the way, he opened his eye again after about 6 months. Nothing scary, just pretty weird. The scariest, worst thing was when I woke up to my bed and pillow being on fire after I accidentally fell asleep with the candle burning I was reading and dropped off. I was lucky enough to have several bottles of water nearby and was able to put it out, but it was a terrifying way to wake up. The saddest, worst was when my mom woke me up at 10:30, December 27, 1988, to tell me my best friend had died earlier that day. I thought she was joking. Then I felt like I was completely broken. My husband put on Insidious, then left the room. I woke up to the screechy loud violins and I was so startled I literally fell out of bed. It's a toss-up between a few, but I once woke up after a party at my house to a guy leaning over me saying, "Don't worry, I didn't rape you."